What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Wealthy Consultant Talks, where we have the wealthiest of them all, Mike Walker.
Right. Let's roll with
What's
this.
up, good? What's up, good sir? It's 7:15 a.m. in West Coast time, and you look great.
I'm bright and cheery, man. Let's do this thing.
So today we're talking about balancing family and business. This is especially important if you're not 17 years old
Yes.
with an ad account on the internet, which I think it's fortunate and it's unfortunate. In fact, let me just go there for a second. I'm going to get in trouble for this, but I'm just going to say it anyways. I was cracking up the other day because I saw somebody posting online productivity lessons. And I went to their account and they're like 12.
Let
I'm
me
like,
guess.
dude, you don't have any idea what productivity means. So you've got a screaming child at home. You're trying to take care of clients. Your spouse is mad at you for whatever reason. Just make a list.
Yep.
And I was like, I took it as an opportunity for me to be like, look, stop comparing yourself to like the software engineer who sleeps on a cot in their office in San Francisco. If you're building something the way that we're building it, you're building it to fit around a life that you want to live. You're not building your life around the business. I'm assuming you agree with me on that based on what I know about you. But if
Yeah.
not, feel free to share.
No, I'm not fighting you on this one, man. And I think it's a huge, deep sigh of relief for a lot of people when they learn that it's okay. Like as soon as you unweight their shoulders on that, you just see it come off. They're like, oh God, okay, cool. I don't have to live this, 24/7 grind mode, hustle, whatever it is, all the mantras, no sleep club or whatever. I've lived that, man. And yeah, you can do it when you're, 20, but after a while, you start to realize that's not a scalable and long-term game.
Yeah, 100%. What have you found to be some like great practical tips? Because I can list on some. I'm about to have my second child. Me and my wife, we have a newborn baby boy that's about to be born. We have a almost 4-year-old daughter. You've got a family. What are some tips that you've used in your own life for balancing life, family, and business?
Yeah, man. It's one thing to have ideas of what works, and then it's what actually works. And I think first and foremost, you need to have a strong communication. You need to have everybody on board, and say, hey, you know what? I'm going into a season right now. Just a heads up, things are going to get kind of spicy, and it's going to be tough because we've got X objectives or whatever. Keeping everybody on the team up to date of what you're doing, I think is a
Yeah.
really good start for sure. Just so they know, because you can't always say, oh, as an entrepreneur, most people, at least, unless you're a 9 to 5, clock guy or woman, you can't just say, oh, it's 5 o'clock, I'm done. It doesn't work like that in this world. Not in
Yeah.
our game, so having that flexibility and just knowing that things are going to pivot and shift sometimes, I think having that communication is pretty key. And just, keep them updated. Sometimes there's going to be seasons of like, wow, this is cool, let's go on vacation. And then other times like, you might not see me for a few days. It's just how it is.
Yeah, that's my second point, and I'll just go ahead and share that now since that was your first point, is agreeing on the end goal or not doing it. And so me and my wife Lindsay, when we are going into like a season that I think is going to be crazy or push, like a lot of times we'll talk about it before and we'll make sure we agree on what the outcome is. If we ever begin to disagree on the outcome or where we're trying to get to, it's usually an indicator that it's not worth the sacrifice. Because what's going to happen is we're going to come through that season of chaos or busyness or whatever you want to call it, and we're not going to be happy with what we got in return. Everything in life tends to be a trade off, like you trade something for something else. Money, time, relationships, all of the above. And so what you're saying is super important, because if you and your family are not agreeing on where you're going, the destination, then no amount of lean or give or take in the middle is going to be worth it. This is my second point. My first point is super simple and basic and practical, and it's just to plan a monthly schedule. I think it's amazing how many people, they're like, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. And it's like, well, show me what you're doing. Like, well, it's just everything. It's like, no, show me what you're doing. Like, where is it in your calendar? And you look at their calendar and it's bare and it's empty and they're not really doing anything based on their calendar.
Right.
They're letting other people dictate and determine where they are, what time they're there, what they put their focus on. when you look at a professional's calendar, you can tell that they're a professional because they treat their calendar like a professional. Everything goes in, and if it doesn't meet their end game, then it doesn't go in onto the calendar. And so me and my wife, we sit down once a month, like at least once a month, sometimes more. And we go through our calendar and our schedules together, and we use a shared calendar in iCloud because we're obviously smart and superior, and we use Mac products. If you want to use PC, that's up to you. No judgment. Mike's laughing at me.
No, it's all good.
But like we have a shared calendar, and she'll dump stuff in there and I'll put stuff in there. And that way we're just synced up on the same page. We have a monthly schedule. Are you more of a monthly, quarterly, or weekly guy, or do you do all of them at different points?
So I like to visit monthly, obviously at the top of the month and at near the end, prepping for the next, and then a weekly review. Pretty much every day I want to see, okay, where am I headed at the end of the week? By the end of the week, I need to hit X, whatever X is in terms of projects, objectives, whatever. And then daily, I keep a calendar up here on my left side on screen that literally this screen is just my calendar. And so I'm always kind of working, and I look at the clock and go, oh crap, okay, I'm already bleeding into that. So now I need to push that off and go to the next thing and kind of keep a regiment. Otherwise I kind of just keep going, so I need the color blocks to remind me of where I'm at in my day. And it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like I know them in my mind, but if I don't have them right in front of my face, I don't know. I just have to lean on those.
Yeah, we do. We teach this in Modern Day Consultant, which is one of the flagship consulting programs that we have here. Is we teach the blocking and the color coordination, so that people can quickly audit, their life. And it's like, if you color coordinate something and it's like, wow, there's a lot of red in my calendar, and red's something that I don't want to do. It's like, well, yeah, you can see it now, how much time you're wasting by not taking control of your calendar and where your time is going. This is almost like this gets into mental model territory, because I really think time and how you leverage time has a lot to do with where you end up when you're older. And unfortunately, people just give their time to whatever is urgent.
Yeah.
One of my good friends, Dan Martell, just released his book, The Buyback Principle. And he's got inside of this book, which is fantastic, by the way. If you haven't read it, I think you'll really like it, Mike.
I'll check it out.
I have a copy. I have several copies for you next time you're in town if you'd like.
Heck yeah.
But Dan is a genius, and he talks about the drip matrix, which is a newer, more modern version of like the Eisenhower matrix. And it's just really well done. But he talks about like, making sure that you put your time into things that are investments, that are long-term. And what I see happen with our clients and just friends and all over the place is people tend to default to putting their time into whatever is the most urgent or right in front of their face, which is really a form of intellectual laziness. There's two types of laziness. There's kinetic laziness, which is like, look, you just sleep all day and you never get out of bed. Not many people are kinetically lazy. I think it's overblown. Like most people are not kinetically lazy. We want to be active. We want to move towards our goals. What is far more common is intellectual laziness, which comes in and convinces people to just accrue their time to whatever is in front of their face, rather than thinking deeply about where do I put my time and how do I invest the resources that I have around me and through me. And the point of that is just to make sure that people are actually putting time into things that are going to pay them over the long haul, not just things that are going to pay off old debts or old mistakes, but long-term investments.
Yeah. Productivity versus activity, right? Like those two things are very different, but they're very easy to confuse too.
Yeah, 100%. Talking about business and balancing business and family, the last point I have is to prioritize what matters the most. That sounds so cheesy and dumb, but I'll share a story. Years ago, there was somebody that I looked up to, and he has become a friend of mine, and which is so cool, by the way, just as an aside. Like when your mentors become friends, that's when you're like growing, you're like on the right direction.
Yeah.
But this guy was sharing a story about how his wife wanted a new kitchen. She wasn't happy, and it's just a silly story, but it emphasizes the point. His wife, by the way, made more money than he did at the time. I think it's funny that people sometimes they fit just men in general into these weird norms. But like my wife is an entrepreneur. She'll kick my ass, dude. Like I don't be like, here's your budget, have fun. Like she runs her own business and she makes her own choices. And the same with this guy. But the interesting piece is she wanted a new kitchen and he was trying to tell her not like, we don't need to pay the money right now. That's not a good investment. And she would look at him and she was like, you just spent $100,000 to get your staff new computers and build out new offices. And yet you won't make it you're making me feel bad about investing into our number one place, which is our home and our house. And it struck me at the time because I was like, oh, shoot, spending a lot of money in ads, spending a lot of money in team. Am I spending money on the things that are the most important rather than the most urgent? And I think this is important to remember is like your money goes where your values go. And a lot of times people want to know, how do you balance family and business? Well, start putting your money into your family. And then what you'll notice is that your priorities begin to shift towards your family because that's where your money's going. I don't know if you have thoughts on this, but it was really helpful for me, like to make sure I'm investing not just my time, but my money and my resources into a healthy family life, great vacations. Sometimes saying no to working so I can stay home with my daughter and my wife, like those things are like, can't be separated.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I just create rules like an algorithm where regardless of what the quantity is, the volume of money, when we're talking specifically about money, it's just that metric, it's the 50, 40, 10 rule, 50 goes into production, spending and operations and all that. 40% goes to family and investing and all that. And then 10% savings long-term. And that's just a very basic version, but even within those are individual buckets. So it literally, if it's $1 or $100,000, it doesn't matter. The equivalent breaks down. And so it's very easy to just stick true to the goal, to the rules that you've set, So for me, when it comes to the money side of business and like you said, dividing it up, making sure that the percentages stay consistent, that's for me, the best way to do it is just create rules that are standardized that never break regardless of the amount. And it makes it very easy. Like it's not even a decision anymore.
Yep. I agree 100%. Any final parting words of wisdom before we wrap up?
When it comes to family and work, God, I mean, it's such a big one, right? Well, you said something about, shared vision and clarity of goals and purpose. So having some North Star KPIs for the family too, like what does that look like? What does success look like? Having it defined, you can't hit a target if you can't see it. So defining what does a good family setup look like, having that defined, shared is probably a really good place to start if it's not already there.
That's great. Love that. Love that a lot. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for tuning in. Check out the blog, wealthyconsultant.com. Leave us a review if you feel so inclined to do so, and keep crushing.
See you guys.